So like Matt said, well, first off, thank you for having us. Like Matt said, my name is Casey S. Cox, Territory Sales Manager for Pivot Bio. Started back in 21. I actually worked in the Customer Success Center in Ames and worked my way up to being a Territory Sales Manager. So I get to work with Matt, which is absolutely lovely. I'm going to go ahead and kind of start us with a video here. And this is Melly Keeman. He is the founder of Key Trade. He's one of the largest nitrogen distributors to the United States. And we had a chance to kind of sit down and talk with him. We talked with him last year too, and kind of his predictions, what would happen last year. I mean, he hit it dead on the head. And so we talked to him again this year. And actually, this video is from March 3rd, yeah. I want to say. So it's kind of before everything started happening across the pond there. But this is just kind of some of his predictions at that time.
Usually, markets are driven by simple supply and demand.
Can you guys hear that? Is that?
Like we have learned at school.
Where's Eric? I don't know if we can play it through that.
Can you put on the speaker here?
I just think it's coming through that.
The process of the global fertilizer market has changed dramatically. Just a simple way of saying it would be, not very many years ago, China was one of the largest, if not the largest importer of fertilizers, and today China is potentially the largest exporter of fertilizers. So the changes are dramatic. The impact of energy.
It don't matter. I can skip it.
The United States being a very expensive natural gas market, thanks to shale becoming a very competitive gas supplier, to Europe losing Russian gas and spiking gas prices. I mean, these were events that one could not predict.
So that was hard to hear, but essentially what he was just talking about is last year how fertilizer prices went up just because of what kind of was going on with China and everything like that. And, you know, for this year, he was talking about prices going up again with kind of similar things that are going on. But then this war broke out. And obviously, we've all kind of seen how that has affected the nitrogen coming into the United States, or lack of in some areas. But essentially what we want to, we're not using that as a scare tactic or anything like that, but we understand that it is a heartache to some people. You know, some of you guys probably already do have all your nitrogen locked up, and that's great. But if there's some nitrogen out there that you don't have booked yet, or maybe you have it booked, but you're not super happy with the price on it. You know, currently right now we are still priced very competitively, actually lower than what our synthetics are here in the spring. And again, we are a form of nitrogen, just like your 32, 28 urea, all that kind of stuff. So just want to let you know that and again, we're all made in the U.S. too. So we're not relying on anything coming in to create our product. We got plenty of supply. So we're not worried about that as well. I got Carolyn here to kind of help go through this a little bit, just because of the importance of talking about cost savings by substituting, and keyword there would be substituting, a product like Pivot into your other applications. Because I think sometimes when we're looked at as a luxury on top add-on product. But what Pivot's doing is producing nitrogen. It's a unique way in how it's getting produced. Just like how soybeans have nodules that create nitrogen, our microbes are doing the same thing. They're taking nitrogen from the atmosphere and converting it into the exact form of nitrogen that plant is calling for. So again, I think in the beginning when Pivot kind of came out, where maybe looked at as a yield boosting product. And in some cases you do see that, but again, it's a nitrogen product.
So he started off with Melly, and Melly he lives in Switzerland. That's probably why you couldn't understand him. He trades globally urea barges all over the world. And we wanted to play that because Melly was forecasting this coming. But then when that whole week in Iran, everything blew up. And we all know that. A lot of us, if you have your anhydrous, you're in a good spot. If you're going to be doing UAN, that's the one that could get tricky. And I think 2027, everything's getting backed up. Production, natural gas is going higher. I don't foresee this going down for 2027 as a farmer myself. We were even late to book our UAN. So I know there's different prices that everybody's got out here with your fertilizer. And we kind of, with Pivot Bio, this is my 5th year in being a farmer myself. Now we understand that we need better management practices in using this product. We all know when nitrogen is needed in corn, and you were talking about soybean production. And just like soybeans, does everybody treat their soybeans now? Do a lot of you treat soybeans with a seed treatment? There was a time 25, 30 years ago when I worked in agriculture, the co-op, nobody treated soybeans. Nobody treated soybeans. And to treat corn is going to take some mind thought. But what we're doing is putting an ammonium nitrogen on every single seed that you're planting. So would you rather put your investment of your fertilizer dollars in the soil, in that soil bank, I call it, and then you're dealing with pH, you're dealing with magnesium tie-up with potassium, you're dealing with phosphorus that gets tied up in our calcareous soils. And I am a fond believer that you got to get your soils right. And then also sulfur was mentioned here earlier. If you don't have your sulfur ticking, don't expect your investment of nitrogen to work as well as you want it to. Because sulfur and nitrogen play in the same sandbox. So when they were mentioning sulfur earlier, that's something we really got to key in on. Now, on our farm operation, we look at it as substituting. We're not spending more money. And I challenge you all, and we all need synthetics. We need urea, we need anhydrous, absolutely need them. We know that they work, but we also know that they turn to nitrate quickly and they leach. We look at it as, let's take out, if we're running 25 gallons of 32 with our weed and feed, let's back out 8 gallons. Does that contribute to yield? Has anybody ever tested it? And I don't think we've tested it because we just say they've been around 100 years, we're going to keep using it. Our farm, we've tested it 3 years. Yes, we want some 32% up front because it gives that corn a shot. Is it contributing to yield? We found 10 gallons. We can back that out because it's not contributing to yield at all. We've done test after test after test. So we're substituting those dollars we're spending on that 10 gallons, diversifying our plan, and using something on seed like the Pivot, the Proven It. So when I look at, if you're planting 36,000 population corn, it takes the ebbs and flows out of the field because now you've got a little mini anhydrous factor in every single corn root. It's not going to go anywhere. But it's not a 40-pound dose. And that's where we got it wrong, okay? UAN, if you feed it and you catch a rain, that's like drinking whiskey through a straw. And that corn's going to suck it up. This product is a slow feed. But it's consistently there when your crop wants it, and we don't know when that is. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to consistently take nitrogen from the air, convert it to a form that the corn wants, just like your beans convert it to what it wants. And that's how we're substituting. So we're not spending any more money. Actually, we're putting $32 back in our pocket because we're taking 10 gallons of 32 out. We're substituting it with a Proven 40 or the G3 product that they've got now. And we're putting $32 back in our pocket. So that's the way mentality-wise is that we want to be a part of the program. We're not a luxury on top. And if in anhydrous, I know that's climbing. If you don't have your gas out there yet this spring, back it down 20 pounds, 30 pounds. Just get comfortable tweaking it down. Our soils mineralize a lot. We get a lot from the soil as well. Urea, that's another one. You can put $10 in your pocket if you take 33 pounds out. So just those analysis of how we're not an add-on product. We are a nitrogen company. We focus on nitrogen and how can we make nitrogen better in your corn crop. Sulfur, a lot of times back 5 years ago, when guys were backing down their nitrogen, they were also backing down their sulfur. And that was a big no-no. And we found out that, you know what, maybe we didn't get the results we wanted. Maybe we didn't see the yield. Yeah, the product doesn't work. Well, you backed your sulfur down, and that's not what we want. And guys are also using it as a side dress replacement. That's a big no-no because your corn wants nitrogen from V8 to tassel because your corn plant's saying, I need to reproduce. I'm going to pull in everything I possibly can. And the UAN application side dress is a great application, especially if you catch a rain. But we know if we don't catch a rain, we might have just threw some money and wasted our time and energy if it doesn't get into the crop. So I think all our goal as farmers is to get the nitrogen we pay for into our corn crop. And I hope that's what everybody's goal is. And that's the way we look at it on our farm. So I farm with 2 brother-in-laws, and they say it takes the ebbs and flows out of our field. You get different soil pHs, you get different soil types. It's not a one problem solve product. It's not a Hail Mary product. So I'm just doing the hard reset right now that we've learned a lot, but it's something you got to incorporate into your program as another mode of action. It's like a mode of action like we use in chemistry.
Yep.
So that's a little bit of that slide just to say, okay, if you guys substitute, you can actually put money back in your pocket. And you're just diversifying your plan. And we like to diversify as much as we can, especially with nitrogen.
Definitely.
I'll echo that too. I mean, I've worked with a lot of companies, and to be able to have the company come out and actually, I don't want to say take an egg out of the face. Or
Well, we did because it was a new company. It was like, okay, the advertising was over the top. Oh, 40, 40, 40, 40. And it's a great product. I've seen it vegetatively. It works well, especially silage, you know.
I think that takes a lot for a company to be able to go out and say, admit, we probably pushed different levers, the more you get out there. We didn't take the time to understand exactly how stuff worked. I mean, you want to be out in that spring or longer?
Yeah.
This is the 3rd generation. So,
you want to
yeah.
cut from side.
And we've
We
increased,
all want to do that.
we've helped them
But the
move
thing
the
is,
product a
there's
lot.
a reason
with
why we
this.
side dress. That's what the plant needs that
Yeah.
nitrogen or wants it. So we're going to be talking more if you're
System
substituting,
approach.
Take that away from the furthest from that.
And everybody, yeah.
Hydrous.
And everybody's got different fertility plans, so it's just not a simple, oh, I'll just take out my side dress. Or we want it simple. We're saying that it can be simple. It's substituting. So I think in the past we use replace, reduce, and guys' minds are spinning like, how do we do this? It's really just substituting and diversifying your nitrogen plan.
Yeah. And
That's the way you look at it.
There is like a whole new regime within Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It literally is not the same company at all.
Oh, it's not.
It's totally different. I think it's for the better.
I was just going to say that.
I really do. I mean, all the flashy things are great. Don't get me wrong, but it's business.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is business.
I think to your guys' point is you guys all heard about Pivot Bio 3-4 years ago because of the marketing that we were doing. And so we did what we set out to do. We wanted to get our name out there, people to understand who we are or what we're trying to do. But I don't think that we took the time to really invest in how do we place this product on individual farms, because it's not a cookie cutter approach. You guys all do a different program. And so for us to just say, yeah, take Proven 40 and go replace it on whatever application you want to replace it, you're good to go. That just doesn't make sense.
If anything, it's been a learning curve that there's a lot of chemistry involved with anhydrous. There's a lot of chemistry involved. When you put those urea pellets out, it's got to go through a whole chemical reaction in the soil to become available for your corn crop. So if anything, it's been kind of a good education series of synthetics, which we need, because this product is not going to replace all of the synthetics that we have to get from overseas and barges and that type of thing. So it's just another tool in the toolbox to use for a nitrogen program. And this is our 3rd generation product. So if guys were using it and you see on social media, they're like, oh, that doesn't work. You've seen it 3 or 4 years ago. That was our first product. Now we're on our 3rd. Like you said, we're a nitrogen company. So we are completely focused on nitrogen, corn, nitrogen in wheat, nitrogen in silage, nitrogen in cotton. Guys are getting a whole about, I think they're making about the bolls on the cotton, they're making about $40 an acre by using our product. Just another source of nitrogen. So if you want to talk on the new product, the G3.
Yeah. So, when I started in 21, we were just liquid. We were the proven product. We could replace up to 20 pounds. And again, back then, like I said, we just didn't know what we didn't know. And obviously with liquid, you run the risk of compatibility issues. And for us, I don't know if we had the best approach in maybe testing these tank mixes. I mean, everybody's got a different tank mix. And so, we've now gone back and had conversations with some individuals, maybe from 21, 22, 23 that were using liquid. We kind of ask them what they put in their tank mix for their starter and find out that, what was in there is not what we want to put our microbes with. So we were, and I don't want to say it's for every single instance that maybe we had a bad experience, but it's starting to sound like maybe we sent dead microbes out to the field, and that's on us. I mean, that's a learning thing that we probably didn't train people enough. Our internal team, our reps, and our customers. And so again, that's why we're trying to go back, rebuild the kind of foundation of what Pivot is, and kind of set the expectation of what this product is. So like we said, we got our new G3 product. That comes in the form of treating the seed on seed, so Matt can treat it here. And then the newest application method here is our dry bucket. And with our dry bucket, you can see that it's a talc graphite mix. So this actually can replace your talc application.
Unless you get a really hot, sticky day, then
Right,
we want you to
right.
continue to use an 80-20. This isn't a complete replacement, just knowing on the weather, but it does a really nice job
Yep.
of not having to spend as much on talc graphite.
Then you also see that it has a micro pack in with it. Again, it's not a crazy amount, but it's a good starter to get that plant up and going out of the ground.
And again, it's on every seed. So like on our operation, we don't use zinc. So my brother-in-laws are like, well, this is good because then I can get some zinc on every seed and some nitrogen, and I get some boron. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing if you're not doing anything currently.
Yep.
A little bit's better than nothing.
And this was this dry product here was a big push from the field because farmers that use bags that don't have a liquid system, they didn't really have a good opportunity unless you wanted to cut a bunch of bags and treat it. But even then, logistically, it kind of was a hassle.
Yeah.
So what this can do, this bucket treats 125 acres. And it's 1.78 ounces per unit. There will be a scoop that comes in there. The scoop treats 2 units. But again, so this just opens up the opportunity for guys that do bags, and or if you're doing boxes and you're finishing with bags. In the previous years, we would just say, well, we're not going to put it on those bags. Now we have the opportunity to do that. And essentially what this G3 product is, it's our nitrogen fixing microbes with 2 additional microbes added to it to just help with, micronutrient uptake, more efficiency in the plant.
And one thing you guys have heard a lot about microbes today, and I want to bring to the attention that microbes, there's abundance and billions of them in the soil. These microbes have been edited so that if you have manure out there, these microbes don't really care. They're going to keep cranking nitrogen. And usually microbes, they can become a little lazy if there's a synthetic source. So these microbes never shut off. And we can't say that about the rest of the microbes out in the soil, but these were edited, and they're the only ones on the market that are edited. They're patented, they're edited to keep the light switch on. So no matter what is thrown at these microbes, they're not in it for themselves. They're all about producing ammonia right on the root system to the corn plant. And
Yes.
that's the biggest difference with our microbes versus everything else, even hearing out in the marketplace.
So these microbes, I mean, we could go out and, as ourselves here, we could go out and buy them. What's different about our microbes compared to maybe some of the other microbes out there that talk about nitrogen is we have that gene edit that even in the presence of synthetic nitrogen, they continue to produce nitrogen.
Yeah.
A lot of the normal or non-gene edited microbes that are already occurring in the soil, once they come into contact with your synthetic, they take it for themselves and then they just shut off.
But no, this is just another application.
Right.
So like in our operation, we're still doing on seed because we don't want to, just like, we'll just do the on seed, but then we're using this to finish up what we just put a talc applicator on our tender, and then we can finish off whatever we didn't treat on seed with this product.
So how she was just kind of talking there, I mean, there's a couple different options how to apply the dry product. Obviously, with the on-seed stuff, that'll all be handled by Matt and his team here. But we got a couple different application methods that if you were going to go with the dry product on how to do it. This next slide here kind of tells you a little bit more. So either you can have a dry additive feeder on your tender. That's something that you would still have to calibrate with our product. The next option would be a double transfer of pro boxes. So you would just have an empty box, throw a little bit in the bottom of it, and then as you're dropping the seed into that box, you're layering it in there, and then you drop it back in the next box, or the original box that it came from, and then put it in the tender or into the planter. So it's one of those things, and I don't know if you guys have heard from other dry products that you can maybe just dump it on, you can crack the lid of that Pro Box, dump it on top and put it in the plant and you're good to go. And maybe they have some different studies that they've done that they see that works with their product. For us, that is not what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's layered into the seed. So like I said, with the applicator, the box-to-box transfer, and or if you're, row by row units, that you're just, as you're filling those each row, that you're layering it in there. Another big thing for this too is you want to throw a little bit into the bottom of the planter and prime the lines. That way everything gets coated. And then from there, we have full confidence that through these three methods that we will get good coverage on the seed to see the results.
We've done a lot of testing with John Deere and a lot of the big planter implements. And so we have, once it's primed, it's good. And most of the time, guys are either going to be putting in a dry additive feeder if you're in the field, or probably you're going to be layering it on top when you're filling the center fill. So we just want to make sure you're layering it. And once that planter gets primed, it's getting way out to the 24, out to the end rows really, really well.
Yep.
So we just want to make sure that you're layering it in and not just dumping it on top. We want to make sure everything's covered.
So as far as packaging for this dry product, so it's 60 days from ship date. So it's just like if you got it like that, you have from the day it shipped, you got 60 days. And then what you would do with this, so we're going to have our carrier in the bucket. Our microbes are coming in this pack here. You guys will all have some nice rubber bands if you use it. But what it is then, and inside this bigger pack are our two microbes. So the one is our nitrogen fixing microbe. The other one is our two additional microbes that help with micronutrient uptake and efficiency in the plant. And then basically what you do, you dump it in here, and then you would invert this about 10 times just to get it mixed up. And then, like I said, there's going to be a scoop in there. So either you're layering it in with the scoop or you have your applicator. But the biggest thing is just, like I said, making sure that we mix it up properly and then we get it onto the seed by layering it in or doing a box-to-box transfer to making sure that all of those seeds are getting some of those microbes on it. And then once it's mixed in the bucket, you have 5 days to get it on the seed. And then once it's on the seed, you got 3 days to get it in the ground. And then once that's in the ground and that seed shoots out its first root, we will start colonizing on it and growing. So once we get into the ground, we are a very, very stable form of nitrogen that you can depend on. I understand that you have to do a little babying before you get it into the ground. But like I said, once it's in the ground, we know that we're doing what we say we're going to do. And that's fix nitrogen throughout the growing season by spoon feeding this plant. So maximizing Pivot Bio performance with the best management practices. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but stewardship is essential. Making sure that we're sending live microbes to the field because dead microbes will not produce any nitrogen. Next one, tailored end program, substitute, diversify nitrogen program. So again, in the beginning, maybe where we got it wrong was not diving deep enough with you guys as growers to really understand what your program is, what your goals are, and then position this for success. it was kind of a get it out the door, get it on as many acres as you can, and that's about it. So we're really trying to, like I said, get more involved with the rep, the grower, to really understand, again, what your guys' goals are, and then place it appropriately to see success. Retain in-season nitrogen.
So if you guys are doing in-season nitrogen, continue to do that. We do some fields that we coulter and put some UAN on. In some fields we don't. So if you don't do a side dress, there's no other option than this. There's no other way to get any nitrogen source to every single corn plant. And the millions of corn plants that you have, each have their own nitrogen source. This is the only way to do it if you don't side dress. And the way we look at it is it fills the gap. So if we're doing urea, UAN, and hydrous until that converts kicks in, until we get out there to side dress, it's feeding each plant and filling the gaps until we can get there, because we don't know when we're going to get in that field due to Mother Nature. So that's the way we look at it. We fill the gaps, and if you're not doing a side dress, there is no other option besides this little bucket right here, or doing it on seed.
And I think, yeah, a good
those are your only
visualization
two
of that
options.
is just the peaks and valleys of synthetic nitrogen or manure. You know, all of them are very good. It's just, when is Mother Nature going to allow that to be
Converted to a form that your corn can
uptaken
take
by the
up.
plant? So
Yep.
if you see these peaks and valleys,
Yep.
we're the constant through the peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
We're just a slow feeded nitrogen throughout the growing season.
The number 4 one is the sulfur, and I seen a lot of sulfur deficiency last year. And the sulfur deficient fields that I was in Minnesota were 14 rows round consistently, like striping 14 rows round, striping 14 rows round. So a lot of making sure that your K is sulfur, pH, and that's why we're starting to add these other zinc, boron, molybdenum, everything to this. I wish I could put sulfur in that bucket. I would put a sulfate of some sort. And that's what I've told our research team, like, can we get sulfur in this? Because corn needs sulfur. It converts to sulfate. So just things that we're working on, but making sure that you're on balance and working the agronomist and making that plan and making sure you're running the proper trials out there.
Yep.
So that's kind of stewardship. We'll keep moving.
So yeah, best management practices. We've kind of talked about them a little bit, making sure that we're taking care of the microbe before it gets to the ground, you know, keeping it out of direct sunlight, not letting it freeze if it's liquid and furrow. All of our product actually now, in the past, for the on-seed, it used to be a liquid. We have now changed it to a freeze-dried product, so we don't have to worry about, you know, in the past, we were worried about when we were shipping it. Depending on when we shipped it, it might sit on a dock for a weekend. We kind of removed those worries now that we have these dry products, or freeze-dried products, that become activated once we mix them into the solution. But
Keep going.
like I said, I know that there's a couple LIF guys out there. You know, another big thing that I don't think that we paid attention to right off the bat. I know we kind of got into it towards the end, but chlorinated water. It was one of those things that I don't know if we paid attention to it right off the bat. We ended up starting to do it.
There was a lot of
later.
products out there that we put a lot of chlorinated water with
Right.
microbes like 10
Right.
years ago. So it's a learning curve.
And
again,
that's with
it's-
any biological
Yep.
too. That's not just
Yep.
Pivot.
and that was
has an
happening 10
effect
years
on
ago
it.
with lots of other things. But
Yep.
we just want to make sure you're using the product correctly. We got good stewardship. You're not sitting it on a tender and it's sitting out in 90-degree heat. We want to make sure that it's all done right, because we want to make sure you're getting the largest potential. Silage guys are getting 1 ton to 2 ton. That tells me it's getting into the plant. We put in the nitrogen on, it's getting in the plant. Silage and field corn are completely different. Field corn that we're growing goes through a vegetative stage and a reproductive stage. Silage, they care about tons. And if we're getting a ton to 2 tons more, it tells me we're getting nitrogen into that corn crop. And that doesn't care if it's silage corn, field corn, sweet corn, it doesn't matter. We are putting it in there, again, but it's a slow feed. But the silage guys have been really, to me, that tells the story that yes, it works. Yes, it's getting in our crop.
And the starch content.
Yep, starch content, digestibility has been huge.
Yep.
So
And that's the other thing too with those extra tonnage too. Like the quality's still there.
Yeah.
It's not just
It's telling me
filler.
that it's getting in the crop. It's an early vegetative nitrogen is the
Right.
way I look at it.
Right.
And then once that corn plant reproduces, it's Mother Nature determines your yield. If we get a hot spell in August and our corn plant's maybe a stage ahead, that stage is at a different stage than the untreated, you can have a yield difference.
Yep.
So just the agronomics of thinking through all those things is important. These are some of the fields that we had, and this is telling me it's getting more into the crop. Visually, we could very much see it. Is it going to be to yield? It depends what happens after reproductive stage. We are getting the vegetative nitrogen into the corn crop. That is our goal. That's what we do.
And I would say that when we
is
were out
number
doing
one.
yield checks this last spring into summer, the numbers that we were getting were absolutely crazy, to the point that we were like, even if we said half of that, the farmer would be happy. And I think with the rain that we got in July, the
We had
dry
high mineralization
August,
all year, especially in this field. It was very high mineralization.
and then we got the rust
Yep.
too for us here in Iowa, and that just shut the plant down.
Yeah, so that's one field, heavy leaching, high mineralization year. Our soils do contribute. This is sandy soil south of Minneapolis, Goodhue County. Look at the sand. I did a root pit dig here. That's why we're getting 10 to 12 bushel bumps in this sand, because they're losing their synthetic. We are actually on each of these roots. You can see that more root mass on the right-hand side. And it's got zinc in there. It's got a lot of, those are the roots in the ears. That was a 10 bushel bump. You could even see it when I put the pictures together. And our soil's mineralized so much, it's hard for us as growers to see that, oh, this product's working. But when I get into sand, I can definitely pick it out. It's just bar none, there it is. It's just right there. So that's Goodhue. That's in some sandier ground over by Red Wing. This is our field. So this one was a 4 bushel advantage. I had to literally weigh it out because we got zapped with that hot weekend heat. It was 22% corn. It went down to 16%. We lost yield. Where we put our 10 gallons of 32 over top of manure, where we put in hydrous 160 pounds over top of manure, no yield difference. 160 pounds of gas over 5,000 gallons of hog manure, no yield difference. So it makes me challenge my thinking of what are we getting out of what we're putting out? And every year's different, but at least we're tuning into watching it. So this was 4. It looked like more until we got that heat and it dried down super fast. This was one up north that got the drone up in there, and that one was like a very, very visual. Again, different hybrid, different nitrogen scenario case. A lot of leaching up in that area up by Benson. So, and I know there's Iowa fields down here too, but again,
Right.
every field's different. Mother Nature's different. I call nitrogen a wonder nutrient. You wonder where it goes. You wonder if it went to the atmosphere. You wonder where it's at in the soil. You wonder if your plant took it up. And as farmers, we invest in the soil, and we hope and pray it gets into our crop. So that's the way we look at this product. It's on every single seed that you're planting this spring. You don't have to worry about it.
And we had, so this G3 product, this is the first year that it's been commercialized, but we had 300 trials out this past year.
We had 300, and we had a win rate of 90% across the U.S. Those growers that on average replaced 33 pounds, we had about 160 of those trials legit that followed our best management practices of doing things correctly and helping guide them through it. It was a little over 2 bushel advantage replacing 33 pounds. So take 33 pounds out, substitute, you're not spending any more money. They gain 2 bushels on average across the U.S. So very, very high win rates, but I know we all want yield. I know we do. To me, it's an investment. It's helping your investment that you're spending on your nitrogen get into your crop. That's the way to look at it. There is,
Yeah.
about it.
And like I said, if there's any interest here still this year, Matt can still
Practical
provide.
farmers too.
Yeah.
That would
So
be
Matt,
another
you want to
one.
talk about that a little bit? The practical farmers, how you kind of went through that?
Yeah. I don't either. We signed up on our farm too for that. So
I haven't finished it yet, but it's through Practical Farmers of Iowa, and
Yep.
it does include
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yep.
If you replace 20
20.
pounds of nitrogen, you'll get a $5 credit back in April.
Yep.
And this is where it gets a little goofy is
from Practical Farmers. I think it's kind of coming through
If you-
Pepsi and a lot of those
For
other
some
places.
reason, something weird happens from 95% to where your
AP,
10-year APH is, or your crop insurance, they will pay
10-year.
$30. So say you do 200 and you reduce 20 pounds, and all of a sudden you lost, you're below your 10-year average. They will pay you that $30 an acre.
Yep.
And now if it goes beyond that, that's typically something that was out of our control. Was this thing?
Yeah.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that wasn't, and we were talking 20 pounds of nitrogen. That's, boy, to see something like that. But that's where I do believe pivot. You get that comfort level, you get $5.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Paying for the product.
$5 the next year, though. Next April. It's not this April.
Correct.
It's next
Thank you for
April.
that. Yeah,
It's next April.
27.
Yep.
And your 5% loss, your insurance has to notify them what actually caused the loss. So if it's like a hail, or something
Right,
like that,
right.
they don't stand behind you.
Yep.
We've done it. Ours is all done and signed up. But
Yep.
There's more.
There's a little more, there's fine
Sure.
details
You
on
don't
it.
do your $5
Yeah.
of that until next year.
Yep.
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 You're right. That's still 27.
Yep.
And it does take a little bit of, I did it driving down the road.